These guys are really awesome with content, and I do really would advise anybody who's interested in photography and things to subscribe to them. Very, very awesome content. Let's get to it.
And you've got to stay still, okay? You mustn't move. You see,
this is his daughter. She's going to be the subject, and they're going to be in relation to with focal length and distances to the tower, well, the church in the background. So this in relation to Blackpool Tower is going to be, let's say, Dow Craig or whatever, and she's going to be Blackpool Tower. But I'm just going to show you the relationships, what they're doing with using different focal lengths at the same distances.
See this header that you're standing on?
Yeah.
You mustn't move from where you're standing, okay? Because I need you to stay a fixed distance.
You heard that? He needs her to stay at a fixed distance. So this would be the fixed distance from, let's say, Blackpool Tower against the mountains in the background.
From the church.
So obviously
Okay.
they do not move.
So what I'm going to do is we've got a variety of different focal lengths, the widest being 12 millimeters, the longest being 200 millimeters. So what?
You see, 12 millimeters to 200 millimeters, different focal lengths, so we can see the differences when he moves in the distances.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a series of shots, and I'm going to double my focal length each time. So I'm going to start at 12, and then we're going to go 24, 50, 100, 200.
Okay, so you guys understand that? You're going to start at 12, and it's going to just keep doubling until it gets to 200, and it's going to keep it at the same distances. Obviously move back again, more distances, and do the same again. Okay.
And each time, I'm going to also double my distance from my beautiful foreground subject here. And then we'll see what that effect has on how big and small the church becomes.
Now remember, keep this as reference. Look how big this church is in relation to where she is now, with how close we are standing towards her.
So, first one, I'm going to go 2 meters from my foreground subject, which is about here, and I'm going to shoot at 12 millimeters.
Okay, 12 millimeters at 2 meters away.
So let me do this one here. You can smile if you want to. I mean, it's up to you.
Sorry, I do have to pause every now and then. We don't want any copyright strikes. Literally just want to make a point with this. So hope you guys are paying attention, Globers. Again,
I'm going
really
to come even
awesome.
closer, actually. I'm going to go to 1 meter.
Again, guys, it's just
Because
really,
that's
really
just the
awesome
way I
channel
roll.
too. Please do
So, do you
remember
think that's
to
1 meter
subscribe
away?
to these guys. Really, really awesome.
Right. You've got to stay still, remember?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we don't need to watch all that. We're going to get the first one. This is the first one. 12 millimeters. The distance was 1 meter away. Did you see what just the focal length alone does to that? Remember when we showed you that? Remember, look up when you're standing different to that. Look up high, but obviously remember he changed his height looking up to her as well. So he had changed the parallax to her. Okay, we can turn
Here,
on.
firstly, how much of the vertical frame Shiana is taking up, which I would say is around 75%.
100%. So yeah, it's got a field of view, and Shiana is taking up about 75% of that field of view.
Also, notice how far away the church appears to be in this shot.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double my distance. What's double 1 meter?
Okay, double the distance. And then double the distance now. And the focal length has gone up from 12 to 24 meters. So it was 1 meter, now 2 meters. Look how close the church has got to Sienna. She's still taking up 75% of the frame. Do you see the difference, guys? Do you see the difference already? Remember, she's staying exactly the same distance away from the church. He is just changing his focal length and the distance.
Church has become twice the size, so appears to be closer than it was in the first shot.
You see, it looks far, looks closer. And look at the compression is changed a bit on her as well.
So that's my one at 2 meters and at 24 millimeters. So now I'm going to double that again. So what's double 2 meters?
Doubling it again, showing it again. Okay, now it's 50 millimeters at 4 meters. Remember, it was 25 at 2 meters. Look at now how even, see there, she's already looking, now she's already looking to be starting to look lower than there. At 75% still picking up on the field of view.
But I can assure you, it is not.
So now I need to double it again. So what's double for?
Yeah, you see? Everything is so far optical, guys. Now we move on to another
We're going to do one more.
Oh, I think that we skip this. Where is it showing? There we go. It's another one of the 100mm. See, now the church looks higher than she does at 8 meters.
So now we're going to do one more. So I'm going to go to 16 meters, doubling it again.
The optimum relation.
So now this is with a focal length of 200mm and 16 meters. I think Kevin Jackson said he used a 300mm or 270 mil to 300mm length for his focal length for his shot. So this is quite a good reference what we can use. But see how high the building in the back is now compared to her, and she's still just taking up 75%.
So here's the important part. Just to prove that it's my distance that's changing the perspective and not the focal length, I'm now going to change back to the 12mm and take it from this point here.
This is the part I do not agree with him. Because remember, he just took it at the same point. He's taking it with the 200mm. Now he's going to take it exactly the same point, now with the 12mm. Look at the difference, okay?
To influence perspective, as the perspective in this shot, taken at 12mm, is exactly the same as the one taken at 200mm.
I agree with that when he says that, but you're going to see the difference when it comes to the compression at the back.
The size of Shiana compared to the church in both shots is identical. The only difference being that both look far smaller in the 12mm version because that's what focal length does.
It magnifies it, obviously, but you're going to see the effects this magnification gives, hence why you'll see the mountains being lower thanks to the
It
magnification.
controls the magnification. If we crop into the 12mm version and compare it to the 200mm version, we can see that the two perspectives are indeed the same.
That's
So,
okay, so you can see he says the two perspectives are the same. This was his together, okay? This is at 2 meters, 4 meters, 8 meters, and 16 meters. This is the 200mm at 16 meters with 75, and obviously at 16 meters at 12mm. Now we put them side by side. The same distance, different focal lengths, the 12 and the 200. Remember, he said they are exactly identical in perspective. I 100% agree with this perspective. It's the same, but there's a difference when it comes to the compression, which he does not agree with. But I'm going to show that he is actually wrong, because if you actually analyze it together, you see why he's wrong. Yeah, he puts them together. It's quite interesting. Now I'm going to put some markers on the screen so you can see what I mean. This is the exact same one. You see, she's standing level, exactly the same foot, exactly. So she's taking up 75% of the frame. This is the 12mm, this is the 200mm. This is where the ground appears. The ground, you see there. Look how high the ground looks towards Shiana there. Look how it has raised there. You see with the 200mm, it has caused the ground to look, how can I put, more compressed. It makes it look more that it's going over a curve. Because look at the distance from this line to the jacket and this distance to there. It's almost double. Why? Because it has magnified the ground. This green line is the telephone or electric pole or whatever in the background. Look at what's going on there. Look how high it is compared to Shiana there. Now let's look at the 200mm. Why does that look like it's lower? It's sitting at the second buttons. That is sitting at the top buttons. You see the compression difference here just because of the focal length. It compresses the scene. You must think of it this way. It's a three-dimensional scene being translated to 2 dimensions. So think of it as, you know, in Hollywood they use different, you know, those glass planes, and they're sticking it together with different things to give it a 3-dimensional look. That's exactly what you can say the translation is, with different planes of the distance squashed together to make it 2-dimensional. And that's why you get this drop. It's just an optical drop. Is that really dropping lower than that? Remember, it was exactly the same distance, exactly the same elevation. It was just a different focal length. So, takes up exactly the same with Shiana, but the background, further away the distance, has compressed to go look optically dropped. So, is there more drop in this picture than this picture? No, there's not more drop. It's exactly the same distance, exactly the same elevation. Only thing that has changed was the focal length. I hope you guys understand that very, very well. So, this is what we are seeing. This compression here is just the field of view that's at the back. The depth of field is compressed more. It's like looking at planes of glass, like I said, it gets compressed. So because it gets compressed together, it creates that magnification. So it's having that rendering of a 3D world to two-dimensional, and that's why this looks smaller. Because obviously Blackpool Tower has a smaller angular size than the mountain, because that is what orthographic view shows. But orthographic view does not take perspective into account. Remember, cameras work just like our eyes. Our eyes work the same thing. You can only have a limit to what you can see. So when you look out in the distance, because of the angle and the incidence, the angle of incidence and the focal length of the compression, it has that appearance that the mountain has dropped below. But it's not actually physically below, it just appears that way because shit shrinks and, yeah, compression. And that's actually the whole argument. I don't think I need to show any more of that, of the frame. This is the 12mm, this is the 200mm. This is where the ground appears. The ground you see there. Look how high the ground looks towards Shiana there. Look how it has raised there. You see with the 200mm, it has caused the ground to look, how can I put, more compressed. It makes it look more that it's going